Good evening and many thanks for joining us. You're watching QTV Nightly News coming to you from our studios on Caraba Avenue with me, Ansumana Esonyase. Here are the main news headlines. On Friday, President Barrow received at his office a delegation of UN agencies to explore and identify areas of possible cooperation in improving cancer control. The Gambia Victims Center held a memorial exhibition on Thursday to honor the memory of victims of human rights violations during the Jammeh-led administration. The Minister of Justice has revealed to parliamentarians that assets belonging to former President Yahya Jammeh have been sold at more than $1.2 billion. And the Gambia Police Force bade farewell on Friday to the outgoing Inspector General of Police, Abdoulaye Sanyang, now Interior Minister, and welcomed his successor. And in international news, out of the 19 candidates vying for Senegal's presidency on Sunday, we profile Anta Babacar Ngom, the only woman among them, and her fellow contender, Khalifa Sall, the ex-mayor of Dakar. Well, stay tuned for more on these and other stories. And we begin tonight's bulletin with some historic news. Now, Gambia's sprint queen, Jammeh Biteye, has completed a remarkable sprint double at the ongoing African Games in Accra, Ghana. 4 days after clinching the 100 meters title, she has claimed hers and Gambia's second gold of the Games by successfully defending the title she won in Morocco by winning the 200 meters in a time of 23.13 seconds ahead of Nigeria's Olajide, who took silver, and Ngoyi of the Republic of Congo, who grabbed the bronze. Well, we'll bring you an interview with Jammeh Biteye in our tomorrow night's bulletin. And now on to some other news. On Friday, President Barrow received at his office a delegation of UN agencies, including the International Atomic Energy Agency, the World Health Organization, and the International Agency for Research on Cancer. Alusisa reports.
This delegation is here at the invitation of the Gambia government to explore and identify areas of possible cooperation between the three agencies and the Gambia in assessing the capacities and needs for improving cancer control infrastructure. Dr. Alfred Karugu, who is leading the delegation, said the main objective of the mission is to comprehensively understand the strengths that the country has in terms of addressing cancer.
So we are hoping that even as we share some of our findings and some of our recommendations, which are based on the best existing evidence for cancer control, we hope that all this will be able to stimulate partnerships in the country. Will be able to also re-energize the ministry to mobilize additional resources so that the country can improve its cancer control system.
Accompanying the delegation to the president are officials of the Ministry of Health, led by Minister Dr. Ahmad Lamin Samate, who welcomed the visit by these three agencies as timely and important for dealing with the increasing cancer cases around the world, including the Gambia.
We have seen quite a lot of cases of cancer mortality in the country, which is as a result, in most cases, of the late arrival of these patients to the health facilities. But we realize also that there is high incidence of cervical cancer in the country. Quite a number of women are developing cervical cancer now. Equally speaking, liver cancer is also on the rise. Breast cancer is also on the rise. And in men, lung cancer, prostate cancer, and so on.
Dr. Samade said President Barrow's government has devised strategies by setting up a cancer control program unit in the Ministry of Health, which is responsible for advocacy against cancer and coordinating the cancer-related activities to ensure early cancer diagnosis and treatment.
Cancer diagnosis is carried out here. Of course, sometimes there are challenges. Treatment also is carried out here by way of surgery and chemotherapy. But the biggest challenge, the biggest challenge is with the radiotherapy facilities. Quite a lot of cancer patients need radiotherapy to have holistic treatment. Radiotherapy is not available in the Gambia. Government is working hard with partners to ensure that we have a holistic approach when it comes to cancer control.
Dr. Samati is equally thankful to the First Lady of the Gambia for what he said is her collaboration with his ministry and interest in dealing with cancer. The outcomes from this visit are expected to be followed by concrete actions. The most common cancers recorded in the Gambian females is cancer of the cervix, representing 49.7%, and breast cancer at 14.6%. In the male category is liver cancer, representing 42.6%, lung cancer 10.4%, and prostate cancer at 9.6%. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cissé.
Now, the Gambia Victims Center held a memorial exhibition on Thursday to honor the memory of victims of human rights violations during the Jammeh-led administration. As Jammeh Sonko reports, the exhibition is meant to contribute to already existing memorialization efforts.
The Canvas of Courage, a pictorial remembrance of victims of the 22-year rule dictatorship, featured 50 victims of enforced disappearances, extrajudicial executions. This is done as a way to emphasize the plight of victims and honor their memory, serving as a visual representation of victims' sufferings as much as each portrait tells a unique story. Through the exhibition, the Victims Center is creating a platform for dialogue and reflection on the past, while also advocating for accountability and justice for victims and their families. Here is Jammeh, co-founder and programs officer at the Victims Center.
Canvas of Courage is something that really I felt so much passionate about to bring in Gambia, because when I was in Guatemala for the Forensic Academy training, I saw a similar initiative, and it was really powerful in Guatemala, how victims of enforced disappearances, they have their portraits in every corner that you go in the city. It's not just inside of a museum, but across the streets you see pictures of people that are missing, pasted on the walls. And I thought similar could be done in Gambia.
International law emphasizes the right to know about circumstances of serious violations of victims' human rights and about who was responsible. There is a memory house created by the African Network Against Extrajudicial Killings and Enforced Disappearances, ANICET, to also contribute to the memorialization efforts. Sirandao is ANICET's country director.
When it comes to memorialization, the analogy I always like to give is the slave trade. We all know about it. We were not born at that time. Our parents were not born at that time, and even some of our grandparents were not born at that time for some of us. But we know about it. We know what happened. We know how the pain that people suffered. And we know that we will not allow that again. That is the same thing as exactly what we are doing here. What happened here in this regime? In human history, it's not always the good things that we remember.
As part of the transitional justice process, a Never Again campaign was launched to hold government accountable to prevent future human rights violations of the same magnitude. Also, a National Human Rights Commission was established by an Act of Parliament in 2017. The authority is mandated to investigate and consider complaints of human rights violations in the Gambia, including violations by private persons and entities. Here is the chairman of the commission, Emmanuel Daniel Juve.
But it's a trauma of 22 years, and a lot of these tension, anger, hate speech that we're witnessing today, I think, has its symptoms from the dictatorship. And but it's important that we have this kind of events.
After the proceedings of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission, a government white paper accepted most of the TRRC's recommendations, including sanctions, amnesties and reparations, but yet to be implemented fully. It is hoped that the Canvas of Courage, a pictorial remembrance of victims of the 22-year rule dictatorship, will be a powerful tool for raising awareness and mobilizing support for the Gambia Victims Center's mission to ensure the voices of the victims are heard and acted upon. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jammeh Sonko.
Now, the Minister of Justice has revealed that assets belonging to former President Jammeh have been sold at more than $1.2 billion. The minister was briefing National Assembly members in response to a question on the total realized from the sale of former President Jammeh's assets. Mohamed Lamin Choi has more on this story.
During parliamentary scrutiny of the executive, cabinet ministers regularly face National Assembly members to answer to questions sent with due notice before a reply is issued in the chamber. Here is the National Assembly member for Fonye Councillor, Almami Jiba, asking the Minister of Justice about the sale of former President Yahya Jammeh's assets.
Honorable Speaker, could the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice provide this August Assembly with the comprehensive details on the total sales of former President Yahya Jammeh's land assets, Vision 2016 rice, cows, sheep, camels, tractors, cars, trucks, vehicles, furniture, gold, and other valuable assets owned or registered with Jammeh's name, including the total sales, buyer's name listed, and prices of each sold asset. Thank you.
The Justice Minister informed the NAMS that government established an interministerial task force and a technical team to decide on the fate of the forfeited properties of former President Jammeh. This is in line with the recommendation of the Jammeh Commission, which inquired into the financial dealings of former President Jammeh and his close associates.
The properties earmarked for sale included 44 belonging to former President Jammeh, 15 forfeited to the state from Baba K. Job, and 7 properties from General Sol Baji. Additionally, 11 properties were considered and reserved for potential government use.
The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dauda A. Jallow, informed the National Assembly members that the forfeited assets of former President Jammeh were auctioned following invitations to bid via a local website and adverts in local newspapers.
Phases. The sale of 36 properties was conducted in 3 separate phases. See Annex 1. Number of movable properties sold is 36 properties. Number of vehicles sold 6. Total amount of movable and immovable and equities sold is 1,240,000,000.
The Jammeh Commission uncovered a list of property in former President Jammeh's name, as well as livestock, which were also forfeited and sold.
The Commission did not deal with the sale of rice. The cattle and sheep were sold by the Serif under the instruction of the Jammeh Commission, and the total amount from the sale is about $8 million. The tractors were sold by the Jammeh Commission, and the sales proceeds were paid into the assets recovery amount at the Central Bank of the Gambia. The furniture are at the former president's residence in Kanilai, and there were no gold recovered.
The Jammeh Commission of Inquiry, among other findings, established that former President Jammeh was either directly or third parties embezzled over $1 billion, over $300 million, almost 30 million euros, and over 2 million pounds sterling. The Commission submitted its report in 2019 with findings and recommendations, most of which government approved in a white paper. Mohamed Lamin Choi, QTV News.
And a report there by Mohamed Lamin Choi will lead us to the commercial break, but we will be right back.
The Gambia is proud to host the 15th OIC Summit on the 4th and 5th May 2024. The second largest gathering of world leaders, kings, presidents, rulers, prime ministers, along with delegates from 57 member countries of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation will gather in our beloved nation for this historic event. The theme of the summit is enhancing unity and solidarity through dialogue for sustainable development. It's a platform to foster cooperation, promote peace, and drive sustainable development across the Ummah and the world at large. We call on all Gambians to unite and support the government as it strives to host a memorable and successful event. Let's showcase our hospitality, culture, and the beauty of the Gambia to the world. Join us in making history. Let's stand together, united as one, to ensure the 15th OIC Summit in the Gambia is an event to remember. Together, we can make a difference.
The art of juggling is a true spectacle of agility, coordination, and speed. a symbol of progression, precision, and mastery. "5G speed is like having the juggler in your pocket. With lightning-fast download and upload speeds, you'll easily be able to juggle even the busiest workdays. Whether you're a busy entrepreneur, a creative, or just someone who wants to stay connected. Juggle your tasks with ease with QCell 5G speed. The future is here. It's fast, reliable, and efficient. First brought to you by QCell. We innovate, others follow.
Well, thanks for staying with us, and if you're just tuning in, be reminded you're watching QTV Nightly News with me, Ansmane Sonyasi, and we're broadcasting from our studios on Kairaba Avenue. Now, the Gambia Police Force bid farewell on Friday to the outgoing Inspector General of Police, Abdoulaye Sanyang, now Interior Minister, at the police headquarters in Banjul, and welcomed his successor. Lolem Kamara tells us more.
The outgoing Inspector General of Police, Abdoulaye Sanyang, who has taken up appointment as the Minister of Interior, was received at his former office in a historic and emotional moment, which featured spectacular displays and a guard of honor by the Gambia police officers. Alhaji Demba Sow, Assistant Inspector General for Administration, and the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Mamadou Sow, respectively, in welcoming the new IGP, said, "This is the first time in the history of the Gambia Police Force that such an exchange of power has been done this way." They both reaffirmed their unflinching support for their new boss. There was a short presentation on achievements recorded by the outgoing IGP, Abdoulaye Sanyang, including the policy framework, the police doctrine, the police training manual, and the police training school. The newly appointed Inspector General of Police, Sidi Mukhtar Toure, expressed his appreciation for the way in which he was welcomed to his new office. He gave assurances to his colleagues of his readiness to build on the gains already made in maintaining peace and security in the country.
Every leader has your own style of leadership, but it has been my watchdog to ensure that whatever are the existing gains, something that has been working very well, you only need to consolidate those existing gains, but not to scatter them. Absolutely.
Abdoulaye Sanyang, the newly appointed Minister of Interior, was emotional in his farewell address to his former colleagues, causing many to shed tears. While he conveyed his trust in the new leadership, he called on all officers to show support to his successor.
As I said goodbye to you, you have a leader who is also a visionary leader. I heard people say, he's an immigration officer. What is an immigration officer? The immigration officer do operation right or wrong. The only difference is the laws they use and the law we use. And to be the Inspector General of Police, all you need is a very good administrator and a leader. And that's what you have. So I want to urge every one of you, failure is not an option. We have gone too far. So I have told the IGP, move with everybody, but those who want to derail you or delay you, let them, allow them to go. Do your thing. Let nobody stop you.
As he opens another chapter in his life, Minister Sanyang promised to continue supporting the Gambia Police Force and other security agencies in their efforts to protect the nation and uphold the rule of law. Flags were exchanged, and as the old one was being lowered, the new one raised. The ceremony was attended by senior police officers, colleagues, and well-wishers. At the end of the event, gifts and awards were handed to both the outgoing and incoming bosses. For QTV News, Loli M. Kamara.
Well, we wish them both well in their new roles. Now, the Minister of Trade, Regional Integration and Employment, Babukar Ojuf, on Wednesday commended the ECOWAS Commission and regional partners for supporting government's youth employment creation drive. He was speaking at the certification ceremony for 12 student beneficiaries of the ECOWAS Nnamdi Azikiwe Academic Mobility Scheme (ENAMS). More in this report. The ENAMS scholarship program, implemented from 2022 to 2023, seeks to provide young people with skills and experiences to boost their employability potentials. The project was jointly implemented by the Ministry of Trade, the ECOWAS Commission, and Departments of Education, Science and Agriculture. Presiding over the certification ceremony, the Minister of Trade acknowledges the contribution of regional partners such as the ECOWAS Commission to the Gambia's socio-economic advancement. And while highlighting the impact the training will have on the life of the beneficiaries, he reiterates government's commitment to implementing youth employability-centered policies.
This initiative, ladies and gentlemen, dear graduates, by the ECOWAS Commission further complements the efforts of the government of the Gambia in encouraging youth or young graduates and students in the areas of technical and vocational training programs, or TVET, as a way to strengthen your capacity and increase employability among you.
The Trade Minister also reveals that in line with regional efforts, government is developing a framework that, once implemented and fully functional, will help address challenges such as youth unemployment in the country. He congratulates the beneficiaries for completing the training program.
The Gambia is developing a national human capital development strategy in line with the ECOWAS Regional Human Capital Development Strategy and a National Employment Policy document. These strategic documents can help in harnessing youth talents through the provision of affordable access to education and skills training, as well as the creation of employment opportunities that provide decent salaries and working conditions to further motivate and retain young talent within the system.
Ndeye Tabara Toure, the Director of Regional Integration at the Ministry of Trade, employs the beneficiaries to take advantage of the opportunities presented to them by the project.
I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all who made it possible, especially the Motai team, through our able leader, the Honorable Minister, and his Permanent Secretary, Mr. Lamin Damfa, for guiding us through the process. The ECOWAS Commission, through Her Excellency Madam Miata Lily French, ECOWAS Special Representatives in the Gambia, and the National Coordinating Committee, that is MOHAS and NACA.
On behalf of the beneficiaries, Elizabeth Elmando expressed profound gratitude to the ECOWAS Commission and the Ministry for giving them the opportunity to further develop their skills in their respective fields.
This scholarship has been of great help in providing us with financial support to pursue our dreams and aspirations. Today marks a special day for us, as we are grateful for the scholarship that has made our journey smoother, allowing us to focus on our studies and gain the best experience in our educational career.
As part of the Nnamdi Azikiwe Academic Mobility Scheme Scholarship Program, beneficiary students were provided a stipend and underwent internship at various institutions to gain more experience. Nnamdi Azikiwe, after whom the scholarship scheme is named, served as Nigeria's only black Governor General between 1960 to 1963 and as his country's first president from 1963 to 1966 when he was overthrown in a coup. Ansmane Sonyasi for KTV News. And time now for international news in a moment. Now, out of the 19 candidates vying for Senegal's presidency on Sunday, one person stands out as the only woman among them. She is the first woman in more than a decade to contest for the presidency. In this report by Mamadou Mbodj, we will profile her and her fellow contender, the ex-mayor of Dakar, regarded by many as the dark horse in this race.
Having supported Macky Sall in 2012, Anta Babacar Ngom this time hopes to supplant him. Anta Babacar Ngom Jack, a political newcomer, launched her political movement, The Alternative for the Next Generation of Citizens, in August last year. She is a 40-year-old who first grabbed the headlines in 2015 at the age of 32 when she became the executive director of Sedima, a leading poultry production company in West Africa, founded by her father, Babacar Ngom, in 1976. Under her leadership, according to Africa Leadership magazine, she diversified and expanded the operations of the company, entering new markets beyond Senegal's borders. She is also behind the opening of the world-famous KFC's first branch in Senegal. She studied economics at York University in Toronto, Canada, and obtained diplomas in management and in communication in France. Her challenge now is how to replicate her business success in politics. Thus far, she surprised many when she passed the sponsorship control stage by the Constitutional Council in the first round. She launched her campaign in Pekin, where she was born, and pledged to improve working conditions and provide training and employment for young people, especially women. She will champion them in politics as she had done in business. Critics point to her youth and lack of political experience as weakness. She sees them as strength, saying, "Fortunately, I have not had any political experience, at least not this politics that we see in Senegal. I don't take it as a reference." According to analysts, she may stand little to no chance of winning, but her presence alone would inspire women and help advance the long campaign for gender parity in politics. If Anta Babacar Ngom is politically wet behind the ears, her fellow presidential contender Khalifa Sall's ears are as dry as they come. The 68-year-old political scientist has more than 50 years of activism and 4 decades of being in the spheres of power under his belt. Former government minister and twice mayor of Dakar, Khalifa Sall is standing for president for the first time after being barred from the 2019 election due to a conviction that landed him in prison. In his campaign, sustainable development has been his central message. He is seen as the dark horse behind the 2 favorites, Amadou Ba and Bassirou Diomaye Faye. On Sunday, Senegal decides. For QTV News, I'm Mamadou Mbouch.
And I'm afraid this is where we draw the curtains on this bulletin. On behalf of the entire production team, thanks for watching. Do join us tomorrow, same time for more news.